This is a video showing how the TopUp tax software works. To open the software, double-click on the TopUp tax icon. This then opens the following window. If I click on the settings icon in the top left-hand corner of the screen, it then brings up the settings window. So from within here, you enter things like your license details. So these will be given to you when you purchase the software via email. Your online filing credentials. So again, these will have been provided to you by HMRC. You simply just type them in the window. Agent details. So this is the name that will appear on any tax returns that you produce. Any repayment bank details. Defaults. So for example, if you didn't want HMRC to automatically collect any tax owing via the tax code, then you tick those boxes here. You've then got HMRC authorization. Within TopUp tax software, there's the ability to use the pre-population API, which allows you to connect to HMRC and pull back various details they may hold for your particular client. Before you can do that, however, you do need to authorize Absolute software to interact with HMRC. To do that, you simply click on the Authorize button and it will take you to the HMRC's website. Scroll down in the window and then select Continue. It will then ask you for a user ID and password. To be able to use the pre-population, you do need to re-register with HMRC for MTD. So it won't be your normal user ID and password. They will issue you a specific one which relates to MTD. Enter your user ID and password. And then select Sign In. It then takes you to the following window. So as you can see, this is the type of information that you can pull back. So self-assessment information, tax account information, any benefits, marriage allowance information, employment information, and national insurance information. Click on Grant Authority in this window. And then as you can see, it will pop up saying authorization successful. And then from within this window, you simply click Save. You also have the Backup tab. This is obviously where you select where you want the data to be stored. So you can either have it just backed up locally, or you can have it saved to removable media. You've also then got Import Change Database. This is mainly for network users. So for example, you could have the data held on a server and then the program installed locally on each workstation. So you could have a login for each user on the network, and you can also lock down particular clients so that you would need a password to gain access to either that client or to that tax return. You've then got the Updates tab. This is where you just check for updates. Click on this button here and it will then connect to the server and pull back any updates. It also does this automatically every 14 days. The type of clients that TopUp Tax can deal with are individuals, partnerships, trusts and limited companies. So from within the client main details, you'd set the type of entity, and then from within this list here, you can then toggle between the type of clients. You can also set clients to be either set to Do Not Act For or Archived, and then they can be removed from the list depending on which one you've ticked. So you can just filter it by clicking on the arrow here. To add a new client to the software, simply click New Client on the left-hand side of the screen. You need to select the type of client that you wish to add and then click OK. You then need to enter a client code, UTR number, tax office, date of birth, gender, marital status, a national insurance number, although if you don't know that straight away, the software will let you bypass that. and then click on Save. If I now go back to List Clients, you can see that that client has now been added to the database. To view a client, you simply highlight the client in the list and then click on View Edit Tax Return. This will then open up the return on screen. To add a tax return to this particular client, you simply go to New Tax Return, select the year that you want to add a return for, and then click OK. The default within the software is always to bring forward any standing data from a previous year, but if you don't want that to happen, you can just untick the box and then click OK. So now I've clicked OK, you can see that it's automatically added a tax return for year 2021. To view that tax return, you click on View Edit Tax Return from the left-hand side of the screen. And it then opens a screen so you can actually go through and enter the details. So simply, you're just working through the tree down the left-hand side of the screen. So for example, if I go to Employment, this is where you can go through and add any new employment details. If I click OK here, and it's just a case of working through the various tabs. So you can go through and you can physically type in any P11D information, any employment expenses, any share schemes, redundancy, additional information. So once you're happy that you've completed all of the details, you can tick Completed on the left-hand side of the screen. As mentioned earlier on in the video, the software can deal with pre-population. To do this, you need to open up the summary section and click Get Employment History from HMRC. The software will then connect to HMRC and will detail the information that they currently hold. You then need to click Add Employment at the bottom of the window. The software has now added 2 employments to this particular client. You've also got the option to get pay and tax from HMRC. So by clicking on the button, again, it tells me the information that HMRC hold, and you just click OK and it will pull that information back. I can then do the same for the other employer. And again, click OK. Once you're happy, again, tick Completed. To complete the details on the SA100, it's just a case of working down the tree on the left-hand side of the screen. So for example, you click on the square with the plus, and you can then add the relevant pages. So it deals with ministers of religion, can also deal with sole traders. So you need to enter whether you want the short or the full pages. Click OK. Enter a postcode, description, and then move to the Income and Expenses tab. If the income is below 85,000, you can just tick the box here and it will just ask you to complete these 4 boxes at the top of the screen. And then you can go to the taxable profits and losses screen. You can also connect to HMRC to pull back any NIC data. So that's what HMRC hold, and then you click OK. Again, tick the box to say that you've completed that section, and then just carry on working down the left-hand side of the screen. So you could set up a partnership return in TopUp Tax and then add the partners so that the information filters through onto the partnership pages, or you can just add a set of partnership pages on the individual return. So just enter a description, the date the basis period began, and your share of the profit or loss. And then again, tick the box to say it's completed. You've then got UK property. To add a set of property pages, you just click on Add, select the type of income, and then OK. An address. And then any income and expenses. And then click on Save. Then got foreign income, so you just select the type of income from along the top and then click Add at the bottom of the screen. Capital gains. So the program will automatically complete a CGT computation based on the capital gains that you've entered into the software. And to do that, you just click on Add. You enter the type, or the asset type. Enter a description, any proceeds, any allowable costs, a date of acquisition, and then data disposal, and then click Save. You've got the resident section, interest, so again you just select the type of interest and then click Add at the bottom of the screen. Any UK dividends. So TopUp Tax does have a database as part of the software, and it contains the top 350 FTSE companies. So if I click on Add at the bottom of the screen and then select company name, enter the number of shares that are held and click on Get Dividends, it will automatically complete the section for me. Click on Save there. Pensions, other UK income, personal allowances. So this is where you would enter the, if you wanted to make a claim for age-related married couples allowance, for example, you do it via this section. You've got other outgoings and reliefs, miscellaneous. So that's things like student loans, etc. And then lastly, you've got finishing the return. So once you've run the calculation, for example, these figures will automatically be updated. You can also enter any payments on account that have already been made. And you've got things like tax refunds, where you want the refund to go, any adjustments to tax, and the person signing the tax return, address, etc. Once you've completed all the entries onto the tax return, you can then run a calculation. To do that, just click on the third icon from the left-hand side of the screen. This then brings up the HMRC calculation. You can either print this calculation off or you can export it as a PDF. The software also has the ability to deal with the in-year calculation, so you can predict the liability for your client for the current tax year. To print the tax return, simply click on the print icon in the top left-hand corner of the screen. And you can either print a hard copy of the return, or alternatively you could create a PDF. That PDF file can also be encrypted so that you can then send it to your client. And to do that, you just select encrypted PDF here and then select how you want to encrypt the PDF. If I click on print, it will then bring up a preview of the tax return on screen. From here, you can either print it, or alternatively, you can save it as a PDF. As mentioned earlier on in the video, the software can also deal with partnership returns. To set up a partnership, you would work in exactly the same way, where you would select New Client and it would take you to a screen called Main Details. From within here, you would then add the partners so that they then become linked to this particular partnership. We recommend that you set up any partners as individual clients and then set up the partnership as a client in their own right. Once you've done that, you would then click on Add Partner and you from the list select the individual partners. From there, you would then go to New Tax Return and add the year that you want to work on. If I now move to List Tax Returns, it will show me a list of available tax returns for this particular client. To open the return, click on View Edit Tax Return, and it will open up the partnership software. If I go to Trading Income, you can see that there's a set of trade pages already added. From within there, you're just moving through the tabs. So you've got Income and Expenditure, Capital Allowances, Balance Sheet, and then you've got two tabs, Partners Shares 1 and Partners Shares 2. If I go into the first tab, you can see that this split is set to 50-50. Then move to the Interest tab. You've also got UK dividends, so you could click on Add. Select the company name from the list and enter the number of shares and click Get Dividends and then click on Save. You've then got UK dividends. So within here you can click on Add. Select the company name. Enter the number held and then click on Get Dividends. You will then also need to go to the Partners Shares tab and within here enter the split. You've then got UK property income. So again, you can enter any properties and also enter the partner's shares. Foreign income, capital gains, and then miscellaneous. What you will notice is that when you close out of the partnership programme, it will automatically update the partner's records. So if I now go back to my client list and highlight my individual client and go to View Edit Tax Return, you will see that there's a set of partnership pages that are linked to that particular partnership. So now that the income is pulled across onto the individual return, you can just close out of that, and then if you wish you can file the return to HMRC. We also deal with trust returns. So you can see there's a trust already set up here. Works in exactly the same way. You would set the client up via Client Main Details. You would then add a new tax return via the tree on the left-hand side of the screen, and then you would go to View Edit Tax Return. Again, it lists the type of income on the left-hand side of the screen, and so you would just need to go through a process of typing the trade in, partnership, property, foreign, UK dividends, and then again, once you've completed the return, you would go to finishing the return and tick the completed box and file the whole thing to HMRC. So the last type of client that we have to show you is the company tax return. So to add a company, it works in exactly the same way as the other clients. To do this, you would click on New Client on the left-hand side of the screen, and it would ask you whether it was an individual, partnership, trust or limited company. you would obviously select limited company. It would then take you to your client main details screen. Within here, you need to complete all of the details, and much like the partnership, you then need to add the directors so that they become linked to this limited company. To do that, simply click on Add Director, and you just type in the name and click on Save, and they will then be linked. Once you've done that, if you go to the List Tax Return screen, you can see the returns that have already been added against this particular company. So you can either view and edit one that's already been added, or you can click on New Tax Return, and it will come up with the following window. Start date's obviously defaulted to the 1st of July 21, so the day after the period ended. For tab, it will just complete it. Now the software can also deal with longer accounting periods as well. So for example, extended accounting periods. So to do that, if you just enter the start date and an end date, which say for example is longer than 12 months, it will apportion that automatically for you into 2 periods. If I click OK there, it will then add the period for you. I can then click on View Edit Tax Return. And in the same way, you're just working down the tree on the left-hand side of the screen. The first thing that you would need to do would be to enter any trading profits. Trading profit per account. Any disallowed expenses, any disallowed income. And then once you're happy, you tick the completed box. You can then move to interest and profits. If you click Add along the bottom of the screen, you can enter the total per account and click on Save. So these are the types of income. You've got income from UK land and property, overseas income, other annual profits, chargeable gains, tax calculation, R&D, enhanced expenditure. That's quite a topical one at the moment. Creative industries relief, and then you've also got your capital allowances. So to add any capital allowances, so you can see these have automatically been brought forward from the prior periods. To add any additional assets, you click on Assets, click on Add, and then just complete the screen. And then click on Save. Again, tick the completed box. You then have a section for losses. Again, tick the completed box. And then once you've completed the return, you need to go to the Finishing the Return tab. And there's just a couple of questions that you need to complete. So for example, you have to select whether you're attaching the accounts or not. So I attach accounts and/or computations for which the period this relates. I'm going to tick that box. If I weren't attaching the accounts or the computation, you need to select the reason why from the drop down, and that's the reason why you're not selecting accounts, and that's the reason why you're not submitting computations. The software will automatically produce an IXBRL computation for you based on the entries you've made on the corporation tax return. Once you've done that, again, tick the completed box. To file a tax return to HMRC, you simply highlight the client in the client list and then click View Edit Tax Return. This will then open the client on screen. In the top left-hand corner, select Online Filing. To file a client online to HMRC, you need to highlight the client in the client list and then click on View Edit Tax Return. From here, select Online Filing in the top left-hand corner of the screen. It then opens the following window. You can add any additional attachments or simply click Next. Because this particular return has CGT pages, if I click on Generate Attach Computation, the program will automatically calculate one for me. So if I click Save there, and then Validate. Once the return has been validated, select Next. The software will then ask you to either print a hard copy of the return or produce a PDF. Save the return, and again click Next. You then need to enter a date of approval and select Validate Date. Next again, and then select Submit in the top right hand corner of the screen. Now that's been submitted, I'm going to check for response. And as you can see, the return has been accepted by HMRC. You can print off the response here, or you can output it to a PDF. If I then close the client down, you will see that it's put a date of acceptance on the right-hand side of the screen. The online filing process works the same way for each type of client. The only addition being that for a company, you would also need to attach a set of OXBRL accounts.